bitches. It's like, nah. Hey, y'all, love ya. My name is Oshun. On this channel, we uncover the creepiest, most unusual haunted TikToks the internet has to offer for entertainment purposes. Y'all, my soul tribe is with a Y because the Y is for you. That's because I love you so freaking deakin' sneaking much. Thank you for being here with me. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I do not take it for granted. Of course I don't, okay? And, baby, we got a good episode in, so I don't want to see you shivering. All right, I appreciate y'all. Today is May 1st, which means first day of the fast. If you're participating, let's get this money. All right, y'all. It is May 1st, like I said, 30 days from my birthday, June 1st, in case you didn't know. Gemini season on the way. Let's get to this video.
Simpsons predicted that April 30th, 2025 is the day everything comes to a stop, a simple coincidence or a warning we shouldn't ignore. In a long-forgotten episode from 1998 titled The Last Day of Springfield, a massive blackout throws the entire city into darkness. No lights, no cars. The city is completely frozen. Even Homer's nuclear power plant shuts down. Just before everything cuts out, a digital calendar flashes one last time, April 30th. Professor Frank runs around screaming and flail filling his arms. It's the end. While Kent Brockman stares straight into the camera with a chilling smile. Back to the Stone Age. But it doesn't stop there. The 2013 episode Mr. Burns drops an eerie the end of energy has already been scheduled. Too many coincidences. Hold on. In a 2007 episode, Lisa holds a book titled The Last Day of Civilization, and on the COVID, the date April 30th, 2025, a global blackout, a full collapse of the internet, or maybe something even worse.
I mean, that happened. Not here in America.
Yesterday, a major power outage plunged Spain and Portugal into total darkness, affecting 60 million people. Around 12:30 p.m. local time, both countries experienced a sudden loss of electricity. Major cities like Madrid, Barcelona, and Lisbon were affected. Because of this, essential services were completely disrupted. Public transportations like the metro system were halted, and over 100 trains were immobilized, leaving 35,000 plus people stranded. Airports are facing significant delays, as you can imagine, with over 500 flights canceled. Mobile networks were disrupted, ATMs became non-operational, and traffic lights failed, causing nationwide confusion. Authorities are actively investigating, trying to figure out what caused this blackout. They're trying to figure out whether this was a cyber attack trying to target critical infrastructure. However, the National Electricity Grid Operator has said that a cyber attack is unlikely. Instead, they suggested that a rare atmospheric phenomenon might have caused a severe imbalance in temperatures, leading to the widespread shutdowns. However, this was debunked by Spain's meteorological agency by saying that there was no change in weather patterns. As of Tuesday morning, most of the power has been restored, and now we're just focused on trying to figure out what the cause was.
Let's talk about the U.S. and Chinese trade war that's happening in front of our very eyes in real life and here on TikTok. If it's a little bit noisy, sorry, I'm on a hike right now. I'm headed to the trail, so there's like some noise in the background. But anywho, I'm pretty sure y'all, just like me, are seeing all these videos online of like Chinese vendors revealing all of their luxury clients who they're making products for. You know, they're making these products for super cheap, but these companies are using cheap labor and exploiting it and selling these products as luxury for very high prices. I mean, that's the foundations of capitalism, is exploitation. You know, countries, empires are built off of either free or very cheap, exploited, underpaid labor.
Children,
so we're seeing that happen, which is really opening up people's eyes about the real value of these products. I feel like for years, fake news has come out talking about how Birkins are better investments than the stock market, and Birkins are such a great investment, which is making women believe that, oh yeah, this is smart for me to buy because I'm gonna get a better return than I would if I invested in stocks. Which I'm saying fake news because at the end of the day, if a natural disaster happened or if shit really hit the fan, you can't eat your Birkin.
Okay.
In the middle of the pandemic, people were not fighting over Birkins. They were fighting over toilet paper and water and real resources. So all that shit was fake news, and it is fake news that is put out by these big brands to make you continue to buy their shit, especially under the guise that this stuff is actually good for you. But I've heard that like in the last couple of months, China has even like banned or like outlawed their influencers from promoting luxury goods because they don't want to keep feeding into that market. Wow. And like just the idealism of, again, luxury and capitalism and all these things, materialism that we don't need. But notice how fashion brands have pivoted to opening up cafes and like places where you can buy like coffee and lattes. I mean, I know like Prada has a cafe, Dior has a cafe, Louis Vuitton is now, you know, opening up hotels, got a cafe. Here where I live, there's a Coach cafe. But why do you think they're doing that? Because the economy is bad. They gotta diversify their investments. And hospitality and food gonna always be around. People gonna always need to eat. So that's why they're now getting into, oh, like, let's just make a cafe. That's crazy. Also, because that's the greatest luxury, is to be able to eat food. Like, that's what you really need to survive. You don't need handbags.
$50 for a coffee?
It's a great way, kind of like beauty products and like perfumes. It's a great way to get that client that maybe can't afford bags and ready-to-wear items. You know, it's like what they call like an entry-level product, or like a product that's like a product that gets you exposed to the brand. Wow. But on a greater scheme, even the beauty products that they're selling are not working anymore because people don't have the money right now, the expendable cash right now, to be buying like lipsticks and perfumes. People need to eat. People haven't had a job in months. Unemployment is running out. So now they're selling even food as luxury. And these again are brands that used to sell bags and shoes and clothes and like all other kind of bullshit as luxury. So just peep that. The luxury market is falling apart.
We peep
because we are in the Hunger Games. They're just not telling you that. We are heading into a depression. We've been in a recession for a minute now.
Yeah.
But they won't tell you that because they don't want to scare you. They want you to keep spending and keep overcharging you and keep price gouging you. When again, people who know. We've been in a recession, and now comes what they say, late stage capitalism, the death of capitalism, the death of materialism, the death of overconsumption. You know, it's all dying. And the facade, like I was saying, as we enter the age of Aquarius, the facade is all ending with all these whack-ass, like, things that we don't really need. So, just wanted to add to that conversation. Let's talk. Stay woke.
So this is groundbreaking news that I have no idea why nobody's reporting on it. Why is nobody talking about all of the Europe nationwide power outages that are happening right now? This is spanning across Spain. This is spanning across Portugal, southern parts of France. It is a complete blackout in those nations. And this is according to the latest news and breaking headlines. And the report said the outage, described by experts as absolutely exceptional, was triggered by a rare atmospheric phenomenon causing significant oscillations in high voltage power lines. This led to the disconnection of Spain's grid from the broader European network, resulting in widespread power failures across the Iberian Peninsula. Madrid, Barcelona, Seville, all experiencing complete blackouts. You have thousands of people at the train stations unable to go anywhere because those have completely gone down. They are even being forced to use cash because no electronic payments are accessible right now. Transportation systems, metro lines and trains, traffic lights, everything has stopped functioning. There are even reports that airports have been disrupted with flight delays and passengers being stranded. Portugal is even facing similar challenges. The Lisbon Metro and other train services have been suspended, and mobile networks are experiencing significant limitations. They are even saying that cell service is coming down. What could this phenomenon that happened in the atmosphere, that's what they're reporting, what was that?
Cybersecurity.
To affect over 4 huge nations in the East. That's all we know for now. As soon as I get an update, I'll make sure to update you guys.
Could a nationwide blackout ever happen in the UK? After Portugal and Spain were struck with power outages, you might be wondering, could this ever happen here? Just imagine this: no phone signal, no trains, no cash machines, and no CCTV. Pretty much everything we rely on a daily basis would be thrown into chaos. There's a few different things that could cause a blackout, such as extreme weather like floods and hurricanes, even solar storms blasting particles at Earth. Oh, and there's also cyber attacks as well. Sounds intense, but don't panic, this is not hugely likely. Because in 2019, a UK power company released the blackout report where they put the odds of a total shutdown at 1 in 200 over 5 years. So that's just 0.5%. So hopefully we won't have to get the candles and board games out anytime soon.
Anybody watching, were you a part of this blackout? Please let us know your experience.
I was one of these stages when a friend group starts to collapse, bro. Got the great conflict. Someone in the group turned strange out of nowhere. Someone who wasn't supposed to join the group joined. Or someone invited 36 people. I was never a peaceful moment. Tensions are always on the rise, bro. Got stage 2, the confrontation, bro. Open your phone one day and the group has 99 plus new messages, bro. Like, you don't know what you meant. 5 people just randomly left. It's 3 a.m. and everyone decided to speak their mind out of nowhere. You barely even got a word out and saw the whole dynamic of the group shift right before your eyes. Got stage 3, the great divide. It takes 2 hours max for everybody to go their separate ways. Somebody already found a brand new friend group just like that, bro. Somebody else had 2 backup friend groups just in case. The group was never rekindling ever again, bro. You got stage 4, the group's leftovers. There's always gonna be a few people who stay behind after everybody leaves. A lot of the time that group is forced and it's not lasting past a few months, bro. There's no point anymore after all the funny people left, bro. Then you have stage 5, the real collapse happened. The group chat hasn't had somebody even look at it in like 3 months, bro. You're trying to figure out what to do with all the group pictures, like you can't send to anybody, bro. All you have left is memory and seeing their IGs pop up and wondering if y'all still need to follow each other anymore, bro. On the bright side, during this time, 2 people from the group come together and they start their own friend group from scratch all over again, bro. Out with the old, in with the new, just like that.
Tariff crisis is already unfolding, and it's going to hit where it hurts. You need to be paying attention to what's happening. Share, repost, and let's talk about it quick. Now, this isn't a slowdown. It's a full-scale supply chain breakdown. Empty ports, broken trade routes, retail giants preparing for disruption. It's already happening. Walmart, Amazon, Target, and Home Depot, they're all giving us warnings, inventory shortages, delayed shipments, and the return of empty shelves heading into summer. The National Retail Federation forecasts a 20+% drop in U.S. imports in the coming months. The global shipping industry is already shrinking. The World Trade Organization now warns that global GDP could fall by 7% due to rising instability and disruptions. Wow. 7% of global GDP. That's not a warning. That's a funeral notice. Meanwhile, Walmart, the company built by the American consumer, is planning to tuck tail. They're investing $6 billion into expanding operations in Mexico and Central America, while the American consumer braces for higher prices and lower supply. Real classy, Walmart. Wow. So here's the real question. Are we prepared to face the kind of economic storm we used to read about in history books? Because we're being told it's unfolding before our eyes. Are we about to write history? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Simpsons already warned us. Yesterday, during the blackout in Spain, thousands of people couldn't buy anything. Why? Because they only carried cards. Without electricity, the card machines don't work. People were stuck. Imagine that. No cash, you can't buy anything. And now the government wants us to get rid of cash little by little. Why? To have more control over our lives. With digital money, they can block you in an instant. The Simpsons predicted it. In several episodes, they showed how society collapses without technology. Without physical money, we're vulnerable. The blackout yesterday was no coincidence. It was a test, a warning of what could happen if we get rid of cash. What if the system crashes tomorrow? What if they decide to block our accounts without notice? The Simpsons saw it coming. A world without cash is a world controlled. And if you don't believe it, ask yourself, what would happen if the lights went out and you couldn't pay? Always keep some cash on hand. Because when the lights go out, only physical money will save you.
Say that paper.
Hey everyone, we got some breaking news coming out of Southern Illinois. I'm reporting from Centralia, Illinois. It is April 29th, 2025, and we have a massive power outage going on throughout multiple towns, going all through Centralia up into Mount Vernon and the surrounding areas. We did have a pretty heavy downpour and thunderstorm. There's tons of trees
down. My
so
son didn't have power
I am
that day
sure that
either.
this is probably just related to a bunch of trees falling on power lines and things like that. But areas that don't usually lose power because of their grid-specific setup, like I work for AutoZone. We never lose power at our store, not 100% power, because we're right next to a little hospital that has, you know, secure electrical grid and generators and stuff like that. So we're always tapped in. And when power does go out, we only lose like half power, like half the lights will go out, but the main systems will all still be up and running. There is no power anywhere right now, and it's going all throughout town. There are a few small places here in Centralia that have town, like the Ace Hardware corner. Ace Hardware actually has power. I asked them, are they set up to any kind of generator system or anything that's allowing them to still have power when everyone else in town, including Walmart, the gas station, everyone is out of power right now. So I'm just reporting this because of everything that happened with Europe yesterday. You had all the blackouts that occurred in Belgium, France, Portugal, and Spain. And there was the T word, the T attack word, flying around that potentially could be what caused those things. And there's a lot of people out there that are, you know, preparing for 3 days of darkness, 10 days of darkness. I prepare for every day to bring me something that I should just be ready to help other people, and just, you know, having some supplies and things like that just make that easier. So I have a little hero complex, messiah complex. I am a prepper. I just love to help people, and I love to save the day.
Thank you.
That's me. I'm not telling you need to become a prepper to do that, but if you do not have some supplies for situations like this, the blackouts, the storms, all that kind of stuff, the inflation that we are facing, guys. See, all of these tariffs and these things, they're not going to hit for about another week, guys. You're really going to start to see the price increases and the shortages and the selections kind of diminish. That's what you're going to see, and that's why you've prepped. You've prepped for the price increase. I'm not saying that you're going to see empty shelves across the board, but what you are guaranteed is inflation recession, an inflation depression.
That makes sense.
Where prices just get to the point where you can't afford them, so the product can just sit in the locked cages. Okay? Remember, they started locking everything up, guys. All right, so this is why you need to prepare. This is why you need to have a community. You need to stop being dependent on the Walmart always being open 24 hours for you to go get what you need on the drop of a dime.
Where the hell
you need to have stuff at home so in case that Walmart is not available, even for one day, okay? Medicines, all that kind of stuff. Think about that. Don't be dependent to just assume that everything's always going to be there, that the system is always going to have doors open for you when you need something. Now, I'm not telling you to live a life of fear.
No.
That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you to stop being dependent on the system 24/7.
Well,
that's what I'm telling you. So guys, I will keep you updated. I'm going to go do a tour around town. There's a lot of trees all over. The community is pulling together, trying to get the streets cleaned up, the yards cleaned up. My boss has a tree falling on his house. I'm on my way to his house to see if he needs any help with anything. And I might be taking the day off because the heck if I'm going to be sitting in a blacked out AutoZone all day with my mother at home by herself. So I will be taking the day off to be with her if the power stays out, and I will continue to report with you and let you guys know what's going on. Leave me a like, guys. Leave me a follow. Leave me a comment. Are you guys dealing with anything in your areas? How are the weather and grids in your area? Because right now, the weather and grids in a lot of area are a cause for concern. So like this video, share this video, guys, and most importantly, work on yourself. That's all we can do.
This was the moment when the lights finally came back on after a massive day-long power outage in much of Spain. We still don't know exactly what caused Spain and much of Portugal
how was they out there partying if there wasn't no power?
At this moment, the locals didn't seem to care.
Well, how did that house only have power?
You wouldn't even know there was a massive power outage in this Barcelona square.
If you're new here, I usually talk about some pretty scary stuff, but this next story might change the way you see Vegas forever, because Vegas is dying and people say the city feels more demonic than ever.
Wow.
Yo, this year, 2025, something strange is happening in Las Vegas. Tourism numbers are way down, and not just because of the economy. Visitors say Vegas feels cursed lately, like the energy in the city shifted. Locals are even calling it Vegas dark energy, and if you've been there recently, you probably know exactly what I mean. Before we get deeper, have you ever felt that weird vibe in Vegas? Drop a slot machine emoji if you ever felt like Vegas has demonic energy, or just comment simply no if you think it's still normal.
I was only there on business.
True scary stories, please.
I never went
sure
to have
because I go
actual
live every
fun.
night.
I was there for like a week, but
way more
business
bizarre
trip.
events like seeing shadow figures on the strip late at night. Hotel workers at some of the older casinos like the Flamingo and Circus have claimed the hauntings there have even gotten worse.
Wow.
There's even been a surge in people reporting sleep paralysis at hotels like the Luxor, with many saying they felt a heavy, evil presence sitting on their chest.
Wow.
No joke. Some visitors leave without even finishing their vacations, and the craziest part about this, longtime Las Vegas residents are saying the energy shift started after all the 2023 construction projects downtown, especially near the old burial grounds that were never properly blessed or moved. And it's not just ghost stories. Even major casino owners have quietly admitted that spiritual cleansings have been happening behind the scenes to
Why is this giving me chills? I got
based
chills.
on how dead the strip has been looking lately, it might be already too late for that. Whether you believe it or not, it's clear that Vegas isn't the same, and locals say the city feels abandoned, darker, and almost like it's rotting from the inside out. Some even say the city's soul has been traded for greed, and now the consequences are finally showing. If you've ever felt weird vibes in Vegas or have a creepy Vegas experience of your own, you gotta send me your story and follow for more skip.
Could the power cuts be down to a cyber attack? That is a big question a lot of people are asking me as the BBC cyber correspondent. The answer is yes. Maybe, but the chances are looking very slim. What's interesting about the situation now is, of course, the authorities in Spain and Portugal are being asked all the time, is this cyber? Is this cyber? Now they're saying it doesn't look like it is. We have seen attacks that have successfully caused blackouts. Russia is accused of doing it twice in Ukraine, once in 2015 and once in 2016, but it was very localized on both occasions and it was fixed within hours. So if this was a cyber attack, which it isn't looking like it is, it would be completely something that we've never seen before in terms of scale and impact.
They don't want to admit that it was a cyber attack because everything gonna go to shit if that's the case. Honey, I'm in school for cybersecurity. I know.
Why are there not more people talking about the end of humanity in 2026? The collapse of human life on Earth already has a date to happen. Scientists have uncovered chilling evidence, a series of catastrophic events that line up perfectly with January 13th, 2026. The signs are all around us: extreme weather, mysterious diseases, and geopolitical chaos. But what if this is more than just coincidence? Whispers of a hidden prophecy suggest a dark force pulling the strings. Are we truly prepared for what's to come? The clock is ticking, and humanity's final chapter may be closer than we think.
Yeah, I gotta chill
Stay
with
tuned
these AI
if you dare.
videos.
The end is near, and the signs are impossible to ignore.
People are weird.
Will we heed the warnings, or will we be caught unprepared?
Faith over fear, y'all.
Airbnb host tried to unalive me and my dad when we were on a skiing trip in Colorado. Here's the story. Okay, so my dad and I take a yearly skiing trip. We always go to Colorado and we go ski in Vail, and we always get an Airbnb because that's how we roll. I think just like with everybody else, there's always like this underlying fear in the back of your head, like what if something were to happen? I always feel the same way, like in an Uber too. Like, are you ever really sure who you're renting this home from, and is it actually secure, or can they just break in the middle of the night and do something crazy? So this specific Airbnb that we stayed at was like the basement of a home in Colorado, and we rented it from this really nice older woman who we met when we got there. So we got to the Airbnb, we met her, and she let us know that she would not be staying in the home while we were there for the weekend, but that she had a roommate and that he worked a lot and that he would come in late at night and go to sleep in his room upstairs, and that we would have the entire basement to ourselves and we wouldn't be bothered. So we go to sleep on the first night, we have no issues, we wake up the next day, we go skiing, and then we come back for the evening. I took the bed that was closest to the stairs, and my dad was in a room that was like on the other side of the basement, kind of like farther away from the door to the upstairs. Okay, so I go to sleep on the second night and I'm starting to kind of drift off, and then all of a sudden I hear this guy upstairs and he's talking to someone, and they're like yelling back and forth, and this conversation is getting pretty heated. I couldn't exactly hear what they were saying at first, but as they came into the room, I realized quickly that the room that he was staying in was right above the room that I was sleeping in, and I started to hear that the one guy was yelling at him that he was like such a screw up and that he could never do anything right, and they were cussing cussing and all of these things. And then the guy that I assumed lived there started to respond and say that he knows and that he might as well just off himself, and they continued to go back and forth until I started to notice that the voices that I was listening to talk back and forth were actually the same voice. But the guy was just changing the way that his voice sounded and the inflection in his voice as he was talking to himself and then responding back to himself. So I got freaked out, but eventually he kind of stopped doing this and it got quiet and I assumed he went to sleep, and so I nodded off and I went to bed. Next night, come home, drifting off to sleep. He comes home, I hear him enter the house, and the same thing starts over, but this time it's even worse. He starts to throw things, stomp on things, and he's yelling to and from himself to himself, back to himself, and it's just
never been reported to the Airbnb
angry,
host?
Negative self-talk, and then him responding saying that he was
crazy.
going to do something homicidal that night. And he started to knock and bang on the ceiling of my room. So the floor of his room that he was in and the ceiling of my room, he started to scratch at it and he would knock on it and he would stomp around on it. He knew that we were down there. At that point, I hear him start to run down the stairs, and he would run down the stairs and stomp, and then he would stomp and go back up the stairs. And so I get up out of the bed and I go out of my room and I stand at the bottom of the basement stairwell and I'm looking up at the door that's at the very top, and he's running down the stairs, and then he would come and he would stand right in front of the doorway to the basement, the entrance to the basement. I stand there for a little bit and I can see the shadows of his feet, and when he runs down the stairs he gets really quiet and he would creep up to the door and stand there, and just the shadows of his feet would be below the door in the crack, until he started to jiggle on the door handle and stick his fingers through the bottom of the door and jiggle on the door handle. Then he would run upstairs and throw things around and then run down the stairs again and come and start jiggling on the door handle and trying to move the door. So I went and I got my dad and I woke him up and I was like, hey, the guy that lives upstairs is probably having some sort of mental episode and he is trying to currently break into the basement. What do we do? So my dad wakes up and he comes out and he's like, what's happening? He comes out and we're quiet and we're listening, and this guy is yelling upstairs, yelling at himself, running down the stairs, trying to open the door. So
I hope you got a refund.
We immediately realized that this man is not in his right mind, and that who knows what's going to happen if he actually is able to figure out how to open the door and get into the room. We tried to contact the Airbnb host and we were not able to get a hold of her. It was too late in the night. So my dad grabs a knife out of the kitchen and I grab a knife out of the kitchen, and we had to escape through the window of the Airbnb basement. So we had to escape through the window and then crawl up this hill and crawl around to the back of the front of the house and call the cops. The cops came, they opened the door, we were able to get in and get all of our stuff and pack and leave. And when we talked to the Airbnb host and asked her what is going on with this guy and told her that he was losing his mind and trying to enter the room and was talking homicidally and suicidally to himself, she said that she had never had issues with this guy, that he's a young, really nice young Christian man who works for a delivery service in the town that they live in and is a Christian missionary on the side, and he was saving up money to become a Christian missionary. We were not able to get the cops. There was no warrant on the house or anything like that, so they couldn't go in and actually confront him because it wasn't, by that time they had gotten there, he had gone upstairs and put himself away in his room. So nothing came of it, but we had to escape an Airbnb. And I will tell you right now that while I have not learned my lesson and I have stayed in Airbnbs since, never again will I be locked in a basement of someone's house while they are home.
This is wild. Authorities are now saying that the nationwide power cuts that we're currently seeing in Spain and Portugal were caused by, quote, a rare atmospheric phenomenon. Yeah, trust me, this whole situation is getting weird. Today, in cities across Spain, Portugal, and even some parts of France, government buildings lost power. Fuel stations were unable to operate pumps. Some people's water stopped working because they relied on electricity. Planes couldn't take off for a while. Traffic lights switched off, causing chaos on the road. Cell service was disrupted, and people couldn't even pay for stuff with their cards or on contactless. So now we're starting to see long lines of people trying to withdraw cash. And the craziest part, at the beginning, they said that they'll be back to full service within 10 10 hours. Now, Portugal is saying that it could take up to a week to be back at full volume. So, what the hell was that atmospheric phenomenon that... Well, to be very honest, when Portugal released their statement, it confused everyone.
There were anomalous oscillations in the very high voltage lines, a phenomenon known as induced atmospheric vibrations. These oscillations cause synchronization failures.
And let me just say how it is. So these were the temperatures over the last few days in Portugal and Spain. Now, yes, they rose and dropped, but it was nothing crazy, about 6 to 8 degrees Celsius. Apparently, however, these fast temperature shifts caused unusual movements in the air. And that atmosphere instability apparently made the high voltage power lines physically vibrate or oscillate more than normal. Now, this supposedly threw off the grid's synchronization, which then automatically triggers shutdowns or cascading failures across the entire interconnected European power network. I mean, cyber attack would have just been easier to understand. But the big question everyone now is asking is, if volatile temperatures can bring down the entire system, then how can we expect to defend ourselves against something much more sophisticated like a cyber attack? But yeah, that's the situation. What do you guys think?
Well, here is footage of a supermarket in Spain as people pour in by the hundreds to start panic buying. So, well, and everything would spoil. So, reasonably so, they're probably going because the supermarket said, come get this shit before it goes bad.
Was it free? How the lights on? How the lights on? And how they supposed to pay for that stuff? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Anyway, that was a great episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. You reached the end of another video. I appreciate y'all per usual. I do not take your time for granted. Baby, I got a lot of stuff coming up, okay, that I got to do. I'm gonna be busier than busy, okay? So, we're gonna cut this short. I appreciate y'all. 30 days from today is my born day, is the day I arrived to this version of this universe, okay? And, yeah, we'll see you then. But in the meantime, like, comment, share, subscribe, and give it to who? Everybody you know, whether you like them, want to fight them, want to feed them, want to fuck them, or just, you know, want to fart in their mouth. I don't know. The fuck? I gotta go. I love you. I say.